I was going through some numbers. And I asked the person, hey, how much do you pay for rent? So she said, 3,500. So I said, okay, and how long you have been there? So she says, well, for about 10 years. So I calculated that for her. And it was, you know how much she had spent over 10 years?
How much?
$420,000.
420,000.
Yes.
You are listening to the Dream is Real podcast. This is the place if you want to buy, sell, or build wealth through New York real estate. My name is JD Ambrosio, and I'm a part of the Dream Select Realty team. And as always, we bring you local leaders who are at the top of the real estate game here in New York. I'm with Angelica Figueroa from Interstate Home Loan Center in Melville. Angelica, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here
And
today.
so glad to have you here. So you are in the mortgage space, obviously a very vital part of the home buying process. So if you could tell me a little bit about your background and maybe what got you interested in doing what you do.
That's a great question. So I've been in the business for around 12 years. I started back in 2012 at a broker. Then I moved to a Teachers Federal Credit Union, which is a bank credit union. Then I switched to mortgage bankers. So I have the experience for all three, which is good. And I have a lot of options for my buyers.
Awesome. So what does a typical day look like for you?
My typical day looks like getting my daughter ready, right? She goes to school, so that's very early for me. Once I get her ready, then I jump into my car. I go to the office or usually to my agent's offices that I work out of, and then contact my clients, follow up on recent loans, and also closing, the loans, following up and making sure the process is going smoothly.
Now, there's got to be coffee involved somewhere in there, right?
Yes.
Are you more of a Starbucks or a Dunkin' Donuts or something else?
I can say that I'll have at home a Keurig.
Good
So
for
I
you.
only have one coffee a day that keeps me up. So in regards to Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts, I don't have a preference.
So that I would say that's a financially sound position, right? So you want your mortgage professional to make good financial decisions.
Yes. You don't want to be all over
drinking
the place.
coffee at home, right? Instead of the $7 Starbucks. All right. So
And sometimes they do Starbucks. It makes me shaky.
Okay.
So I rather not.
Fair enough. Yeah, caffeine's your friend until it's not, right?
Yes.
So awesome. So let's jump right in because getting approved, the mortgage part of it, that can often make home buyers a little bit stressed out, a little bit jittery themselves, right? So what are some of the misconceptions people have about securing a mortgage?
I'll say two of them. The biggest is my credit score is low and I can't purchase a home.
Okay.
That's not true. You can start the purchase even if you have a 580 credit score. So that's one. FHA will take that, so you're ready to go.
I want to pause here for a second. If you're listening, you're saying that somebody with a 580 credit score can be a homeowner.
Yes, that is correct.
Wow, that's awesome. And I think there's probably a lot of folks out there because the messaging out there is it's hard to buy a home. You can't afford a home. A lot of this next generation is thinking that, home buying was for my parents, but not for me. And that's what we want to dispel here. Hence the name, right? The dream is real, right? Mm-hmm. So you can be a homeowner. So you help homeowners, even in tough credit situations, secure the financing.
Yes, that's correct. So even if they have lower than 580, what I do is I run their credit and we want to make sure that you're ready to buy, right? If you're not ready, I will put a plan for you. So that way you can, if you need to pay collections, if you need to pay any kind of debt that you did in the past, I will make sure that you make the right decisions and the right moves for you to get ready.
I think a lot of times the fear is not knowing what you don't know, right?
Yes.
But this, I think, would fall into the category of good confrontation. You've got to confront it with a professional like yourself that can look at this. And a lot of times it's not as bad as
As
they
you think.
Yeah. Very, very awesome.
The other misconception is that you have to have 20% down payment. You don't. If you do conventional, you can start as low as 3 to 5%, and FHA is 3.5%. So that's a big one.
Okay. So you mentioned a few different loan types. Can you explain the different types of mortgages available and how someone might decide or how you might help guide them to the one that's right for them?
Yes, there are so many different type of loans. The primary ones are conventional and FHA. And also right now, we're using a lot of non-QM. It's a non-qualified mortgage where we don't go by the tax returns. We go by your P&L for investors.
Okay.
We know that a lot of businesses don't claim all their income. So that is offered as well for investors.
So that you bring up a good point because there's not only are there different types of loans, but there's different types of employment or different career paths. So what would you say is the biggest difference between somebody who works for a company that has a W-2 and then somebody who is a business owner?
It's a big difference. So W-2, you're employed by an employer, and you get a set, could be a salary or per hour. That is set. So once a year, you will get the W-2 and we will see your income. And we want to make sure that you're receiving the same income currently. That's just plain income. Now, for business owner, sometimes you have depreciation or you have, you're reporting the employee commissions or you're paying someone else. And you might deduct everything, right? There's a lot of businesses that they reduce all their income down to 0 or to 5,000. And a lot of people say, well, I do claim a lot of income. Look at my top number. It's $150,000. But after all, when you go and see the line, the bottom line, you have reduced everything. And if you report $5,000 for a year, obviously you're not going to be able to qualify for a mortgage.
Got it. So how do those particular loans work? Looking at just the P&L in general, is it forecasting going forward? Is it past previous couple of years?
That's a great question. So usually what we do is we either go by a P&L from your accountant or bank statements. We will request the last 12 months of bank statements. We will see your income because you usually deposit everything that comes in and things that goes out. So we will evaluate how much of incomes and deposits you make monthly, and you can qualify that way.
Okay, got it. So use the activity to help predict.
Yes, their income.
And lead to lead to an approval. That's great. So let's shift a little bit to the first-time home buyer, right? What advice would you give to first-time home buyers when it comes to preparing financially?
That's my topic. I love first-time home buyers. Awesome. What I usually do is I offer a lot of seminars, and a lot of them I do them at local libraries. Preparing home buyers is very special to me because, like you said, a lot of people think that they do not qualify, especially if they go to like big banks, that they are very a yes or no. And sometimes they just offer one program and they get, if they go there and apply there, sometimes they say no. And so you get discouraged and you stop, looking for that option of owning a home. And what I usually present on my seminars is so many options that you do have. And even if you're not ready now, you will be later on. So let's say if you're not ready on your income or your assets or your credit, I will be able to help you create a plan for you and be able to, so you can apply later on.
That's one thing that I'm hearing from you that I think is very, very helpful to, whether you're a first-time home buyer or not, going into any real estate transaction, there's a lot of questions and you don't know what you don't know. But it seems like someone like yourself would take the time to really look at the overall situation and not maybe even rush into hey, let's run the credit. Let's have a discussion around the goals and take it from there. Is that, am I hearing you correctly?
That's correct. I usually, we meet up and say, okay, bring the type of documents that I'm going to need for your purchase. We're going to take a look and see if you qualify now. And let's say if I run the credit and the credit is low, I will say, okay, you can start the process now. But hey, if you do this and that, I will give them tips for them to better the credit score because obviously the rate depends on your credit score as well. So in order for you to get a good credit score, a good rate, it's good for you to improve your credit.
And what do you think are some of the factors that potential home buyers can do to improve their chances of getting approved for the mortgage?
Nick Cesarini, Weatherstone Mortgage is proud to partner with Dream Select Realty. We understand in this environment how hard it is to find the right home. You really need the right realtor and the right financial tools to be able to make that dream come true. Please reach out to either Dream Select Realty or Weatherstone Mortgage to start the process of that dream.
That's a great question. Now, there's a lot of people that they keep their money under the couch, right? I don't know if you have heard that, or under the bed. I give them direction. If they don't have the money in the bank, or if they don't have good credit, or if they don't have a good income, I say, okay, if you're a business owner, hey, you have until maybe January or February, you're going to do your taxes. Maybe at that time, make sure that you claim the right amount of money, right? Okay. Don't reduce everything, because the accountants sometimes don't explain that to them.
Sure.
And as you, the business owner, you're like, oh, yeah, just claim that. But then it's hurting you later on when you're getting ready to purchase a home.
So you bring up money in the bank for whether it's 3%, 5%, 20%. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there should be a down payment that's in there, and I don't know if the term is seasoned. It's
Yes.
Am I right about that?
That's right. You have to have your money seasoned in the bank. We're going to request the last 2 bank statements. We want to make sure that you have enough money for your closing costs and your down payment. Now, if you don't have enough, what I usually do is get you resources. For example, the town of Brookhaven is offering $50,000 in a grant, as a grant. And if my buyers...
$50,000?
Yes, $50,000. So I usually research this type of grants that it's either Suffolk County, Nassau County, every town sometimes offer different grants. So if something's open out there, I say, hey, you have this money, but you might be able to qualify for this grant. So you might have enough money by the time they approve you on the grant, and then you can buy your home. So you don't really, you have to see options, right, for you. I give you the tools because I believe that knowledge will give you what you're really looking for in the future. So grants are very good, and they're good options for you as a first-time home buyer, that you're able to use it. Now, there is a couple things that you have to know. For example, if you do use a grant, you have to stay in the house for at least 10 years. Okay. So if you're someone that is looking to move in 2 or 5 years from now, because maybe you're retiring, or you move into another state because you want to be closer to your kids, maybe that is not a good choice for you, because then you will have to pay that money back.
So it's not necessarily owning the house for 10 years. You have to reside in that house. So
that's correct.
Investment opportunities are not necessarily in line for that.
Correct, yes. So this is specifically just for first-time home buyers who are looking to stay in their home, and that's their first time purchasing a home.
Got it. And is there any criteria that, I mean, I'm sure every program's
Yes.
a little bit different, but what are some of the factors that you see most common across the different programs?
I will say that there's income limits. So depending on your family size, then you will qualify for, depending on, your income, they will let you know.
So somewhat of a calculation between family size versus income, like you're
Yes.
talking about
There's
not so
limits.
much thresholds on probably both ends, right? You have to make at least this much, but not more than a certain amount?
Yes, that's correct.
See, I find this fascinating because I'm sure that there are a lot of people out there that are looking at their bank account and saying, even 3%, 5%, with the cost of a home, I don't know if I can swing that, or I need a couple months, a couple of years,
Yeah.
but you can help them possibly find a program that will go ahead and contribute to helping them find that home, and sounds like it's in line for someone who says maybe not forever, but it's close to a forever home, at least 10 years.
Yes. Another thing is that, let's say if the person doesn't have, an example will be if you want to purchase a house, and let's say the house is $500,000, the minimum you will need to have a rent around $50,000. So for someone to save $50,000, it's not easy, especially now.
Sure.
Everything is so expensive. So the great thing is that we will have a plan for you, right? I will create a plan for you and say, okay, you have this, but maybe the grant will help you, or maybe save this much monthly. That way, let's say in 3 or 5 months, you're ready to go. But at least they have that option, and they will be able to own their home.
You're going to be able to see all the numbers from a high level, what they're making, what their outgo is, right? Their debt to income ratio, and also knowing their situation, what programs are out there. And that's really what I think the public needs to know, is that
Yes.
there are options out there. And as we talk about on this program often, when you have the right team around you, there's really, it makes what seems impossible to be possible. What are some maybe success stories, from your career that you can share with us to help, inspire our listeners about, the reality of home ownership?
Hi, my name is Tyrone. I'm the owner and trainer here at Fly Fitness. We work with children of all ages, sports-specific training, soccer, basketball, lacrosse, football, you name it, we do it here. We also work with the beginner, the person that has never been in the gym before. We get you from point A, point B, and we take you through the alphabet of training. We also do rehab, ankles, back, knees, shoulders. The older we get, the more fragile we are. So those things that I just mentioned, those are things that we're definitely going to need help with. That's what we specialize in here at Fly Fitness. Come and join us.
I have beautiful stories. Recently, I met a couple and they have one baby. They came to me and say, "Hey, I don't think we qualify, but please help us because we need space for my baby." So I said, "Of course, let's take a look. Bring your documents." I went over everything and I said to them, "Okay, yes, you do qualify for this much. Obviously, it's not too much, but you can start maybe by a two room, a 2-bedroom house, or maybe do an apartment. But you do have the option." And they say, well, they believe that they couldn't because they went to a big bank and they said right off the bat, you cannot qualify if you don't make enough income. So that was a very, very, we actually closed about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, that's
so that makes
awesome.
me very happy that I was able to help them and guide them. And I met them through friends from someone that attended one of my seminars.
That's awesome. So, as a mom yourself, how does that
Yes.
make you feel when they're at the closing table and they get the keys in their hand?
It's so special. It really is, because when I came here from Colombia, we did own a house in Colombia. So when I came here, we were renting. And renting is so difficult because if the landlord says, "Hey, you got to go because I need my
Right.
apartment,"
There are so many factors.
you have to leave. So moving 3-5 years, moving all the time is so difficult for especially, kids. They're making friends at school and now they have to move again, it's so difficult. So I believe that, giving that, and sometimes my daughter sees me work and she's like, "Mommy, can you play with me?" So I said, "Of course, but give me a second. Let me just make one more call." And she knows that because I have explained to her the process, and she knows that a home is so special. She's like, "Okay, Mommy, I understand." So it's beautiful to show that and to also help so many other families that they need the space. I have heard stories that they say to me, "Hey, they don't let us use the backyard," and they have kids,
Right.
So creating that opportunity for different families is very special to me.
Yeah, I don't think sometimes in the renting scenario you realize some of the things that you brought up, that there is, even if you've got a great landlord and you've been at a place for a while, there's still that underlying insecurity that something could come up. The landlord may want to sell the house. And I know, because when I bought, myself and my wife bought our first home, there was really nothing that could describe what it felt like to get the keys and it's ours.
Yes.
I equated it to my wife once that it's very similar to trying to talk to somebody who doesn't have kids and trying to express, like, you don't have the words, like describing the color red to a blind person, right?
Yeah.
You can't
Compare.
You don't
know.
there's no relative example. But then when it happens, it's really indescribable. So I commend you for that, because that's I know what that feels like. We know what that feels like as homeowners, and being able to share that with other people is just awesome.
Another thing is, back in 2015, that's when I bought my first house. And a lot of people said at that time, "Don't do it. That's too much. You're crazy." And my first home, I bought it with my mom. And I said, "Hey, Mom, this is what it is." I ran the numbers with her. And she's like, "Hey, if you think we can do it, let's do it." But a lot of family and friends are like, "Don't do it. It's too expensive. You're crazy. Look at that payment and this and that." And a lot of people ask me, "Is it the right time to purchase a home?" And I say, if you're ready, it is. Because back then, the houses where I bought my house for like around 380, and now it's worth over 700.
Right.
So, and a lot of people thought that at that time, it wasn't the right time to do it. And we made the decision because we were ready. And thank God we did it, because now my mom has a place to live. and she can have that when she retires. She doesn't have to be worried like, hey, you have to move now. We need the place. So that's very special.
Right. And it's not like the renting is the low cost option anymore.
And you're building wealth.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And the cost of rent here, we're here on Long Island right now. I mean,
It's crazy.
It is.
Last night, now that you mentioned that, last night I was going through some numbers, and I asked a person, hey, how much do you pay for rent? So she said, 3,500. So I said, okay, and how long you have been there? So she says, well, for about 10 years. So I calculated that for her, and it was, you know how much she had spent over 10 years?
How much?
$420,000.
420,000.
Yes. And that number, if you don't see it, you don't know, right? But once you show the number to the person, you're like, what? $420,000 I spent just for renting 10 years? And I said, yes. And you're not getting a penny from that, right? That money is gone.
It is gone. And that's where that could go. And so if you're listening right now or you're watching right now, and I mean, now is the right time if you're ready. If you're ready, right? And that's something that you can help with if you're ready. And you mentioned building wealth, which for some is a secondary thought, and it's even, the security of being able to sell. I bought my home from a family that was there for decades, and they bought it for $16,000. I paid a little bit more than $16,000 for my house, right?
Wow, that's a great price for you.
Well, then but
Yes.
But yeah, I paid quite a bit more than the $16,000. But that obviously was an appreciating asset for them. But then there are others that real estate is a big part of their financial plan going forward. I even think about the family that you were sharing that get started somewhere and that family may grow and they may move on, and they would have the option to either hold on to that house and rent, or so I mean, what advice would you give for those that are looking into possible real estate investing?
I love investing. I own 3 homes myself.
Okay.
So I believe that, yes, your first home is never your dream home. So I recommend for everyone that owns a home, just rent it and buy the next one. You can always take the equity by doing a home equity and use that money to then buy the second home. So investing is something that I love. The house is getting paid by itself, right? The house, that mortgage, the person who's renting is paying for that mortgage. So then you're paying for your second home. That way you're creating that wealth.
So let's talk to that person who has maybe been in their house for some time, is looking to make the move and hadn't considered, or maybe they have, leveraging that house as a continued, owning that house and then renting that out. When you're looking for the home equity loan, what are some of the things that they have to consider in that position? Because I'm sure that's a little bit different than the first-time home buyer.
Yes. It's a little different because then you're going to have a second lien on your property. Now, you do have to qualify as normal. So you have to submit your paperwork, your income, your credit to be able to qualify. So you will have a second payment on that mortgage. And then you can use that. Let's say if you take out $50,000 for your down payment for your second home, then you will have your first mortgage, and then you will have the second mortgage, which is the home equity line.
Sure. So that all factors into the debt to income
Yes.
ratio. So when you're purchasing the new home, all that is also factored in.
Yes, you have to make sure that you qualify. So we go over the numbers and we say, hey, yes, it's a good time to do it, and you do qualify, or maybe just take less money to be able for you to qualify for the second house.
Sure.
So we can go over everything.
Now, does the potential rental income go and factor into the new loan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because you're moving out of the house, so we can use that rental income to offset the payment.
And how do you come up with the prospective rental income amount?
Depending on, let's say, if you have an agent, we'll ask the agent, hey, how much do you think you can rent this house? So they will get an estimate. And once we do the appraisal, we will know how much is the real market for that property.
Awesome. So it seems as if whether someone is a first-time home buyer and just doesn't even know where to start, or whether they own multiple homes, that sitting down with someone like you that can look at everything from a high level would be extremely beneficial as a first step. We've talked with other professionals at different parts of the transaction. It seems like everybody's consensus is go talk to somebody about pre-approval. So you can help them at any level.
Yes, that's
At
correct.
any stage is probably a better way to put it.
Yes, because if you start looking for a home and you're not qualified, you're going to get discouraged because let's say you want this beautiful 5-bedroom home, right? But you only qualify for a 3-bedroom. Then you're going to be like, well, it's not my time yet. I don't really want to purchase. So you would discourage yourself by doing that. First, you have to get pre-approved. You want to make sure how much you can qualify for, and also make sure that you feel comfortable with the mortgage payment, right? Your monthly payment. So that whether it's $3,000 or $5,000, you will know where you fall into, and then you will say, well, maybe I feel good with making a payment of $4,000 per month. Then you know what you're looking for and what you want to do.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, what's as we close here, what's one piece of advice that you wish every home buyer knew about before taking the first step forward?
I think having options, that's number one. And number two is knowing that there's so many different programs that will benefit you.
Awesome. And how can listeners get in touch with you if they have more questions or need guidance about around home financing?
Thank you. My name is Angelica Figueroa. I am you can find me on Instagram, Angelica, your loan officer, or you can call me at 631-636-4415. I'm always available. That's one thing that if you call me at 9 o'clock, I will answer the phone or even text you.
Wow, that is awesome. You're listening to the Dream is Real podcast. We are Dream Select Realty. This is the podcast, whether you're a buyer, a seller, or an investor. We want to help you to dominate the market. That's why we have amazing professionals like Angelica with us. So keep tuning in. You can find us at dreamselectrealty.com, at Dream Select Realty on Instagram and TikTok, and Dream Select Home on X. We will see you at the next episode. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.